What was the highest paying contract?
Easily when you and I got dinner together last March, that I was feeling like T-Pain in a DJ Khaled music video
Okay,
at that point.
how much were you making? Just
We're
on let's say a weekly level, monthly level, yearly.
we're we're talking about 8,000 a week.
All right. I
Uh,
need a quick. Okay, I'm going to nursing school. Fuck this shit. I'm going to nursing school. 8,000 a week?
Welcome to Simulated Podcast. Too good to be true.
Welcome back to Simulated Podcast, episode number 3. We got Josh Nensey. He is one of the most successful travel nurses out there in the game, still doing it, still killing it, and probably the best Dragon Ball Z Fighters player on this planet. Sorry, Sonny. So welcome, Josh. How you feeling? How you doing?
Thanks for having me, man. Dude, I can't beat that intro. I'm just waking up from a night shift, rise and grind.
Yeah.
And when you asked me to do this podcast, I couldn't say no, man.
Yeah,
I set my
welcome.
alarm and I missed it by an hour. Remember?
Yeah. So again, the nurse life is hard, but again comes a lot of pays. But what I've been hearing all over the pandemic, pandemic is be a travel nurse, right? So apparently they're making the most amount of money, and I'm hearing crazy numbers like 10 to 20K a month. But I guess for the audience, for the listeners going down the 4 or 5, going to class or something, simple question, Josh, how do you become a travel nurse?
Yeah. It's you do see those numbers still, definitely. But yeah, let's get into it first on how to become a travel nurse. So if we're starting from scratch, you're 18, 19, you want to get out of your parents' house, do those prereqs for nursing school, community college, wherever you got into your 4-year. Takes about a year and a half, maybe another 6 months to get into the program. And then once you get into a program, you can either go to your ADN or straight to a BSN bridge program. That's the new norm. But back in my boomer days, it was still an ADN at our local community college, and they had no idea what a bridge program was. So you have to fight for yourself to get that 4-year stamp.
Yeah.
So that's another 2 years, a lot of clinicals, a lot of lectures. And then I would give yourself another 6 months of studying for the NCLEX, which is our version of the boards. So where are we at? That's got to be at least.
How many years are we now at?
And that's just to be a baby entry level nurse. So
Okay.
that's got to be 3.5 years, almost 4.
And that's BSN.
BSN, whatever I just said, maybe throw another 9 months on top of it, depending on how nice your program is. So now we're in baby nurse mode. I was out in the field already by 22 years old. So
Okay,
I'm
okay.
every high school counselor's dream boy, No one ever does it
Okay.
like that, but my hairline is a reminder
You
of
got
that.
an impeccable beard though. It's all good.
Thank you. Yeah, it just
Okay.
transplanted. All right,
And then you can go become an RN, right?
right. So
And that still takes time.
that's the time killer. But honestly, a lot of people don't really think about it as a decent route because everyone's just trying to keep their head above water, especially in that new grad mindset.
Yeah.
Bare minimum, you get into a new grad residency program at whatever hospital is close to you, whatever program you're looking for, and we're looking about 2 years into any one particular specialty.
Okay.
Now, if you hop between specialties, that might reset your clock, but most travel agencies want you to do at least 2 dedicated years in a specialty of your choice. In the pandemic, like peak 2020, a lot of travel agencies, a little wiggle room on what constitutes your 2 years experience.
Right. Because they're just like, hey, I need a nurse today. Right. And you have like a max, I'm sure, a week of training and like, yo, your boots up and going.
It'd be nice if it was a week.
Was it a day? Like, that's ridiculous.
I'm on contract number 5, just for context. And we're talking about a day in the unit and maybe 2 days of PowerPoints.
Yeah, let's touch on those 2 things. So you're on contract number 5, but before we get into contract number 5, so this, again, just to clarify, Josh is very experienced in the nurse game, the travel nurse game, but you talked about different types of specialties. So again, I'm just an average Joe. So but there you have like pediatrics, you have ICU, ER. Like, is that the specialties you're talking about? And you need experience in that?
Yeah. So, my own personal nurse journey, definitely I have very big Goldilocks syndrome. Like, not too hot, not too cold, not too bad for my mental health.
Yeah.
Spoiler, it's all bad for your mental health.
Oh God, I can imagine. I cannot imagine, but So you had to focus then into a specialty, but now back then it was forgiven, but now it's pretty
No.
stringent.
Now, all right. So if you hit that criteria of that 2 years in any one specialty, you're for sure. You're for sure. I don't know if you guys have been victimized by the Google algorithm for Aya or AMN or any of those other websites that they keep putting on my feed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they only need about 2 years experience, and all your certifications up to speed, all your proper state licenses up to speed. ACLS, BLS, everything American Heart Association needs, and just good references. So always maintain your nursing relationships. All your managers go to all the functions. Definitely show face, show out. But at the end of the day, everyone's got a bottom line.
Yeah.
Like we were just talking before the camera went on, like inflation is just at an all-time
Inflation's
high.
crazy. It's crazy, man. So I saw a report the other day, just, to digress a little bit. Back in the day, it was, hey, you get out of college, you get 60 grand. That was great.
Yeah.
That was a great entry level job. And you were pushing for that first 6-figure job, like just barely making 100K.
Right.
But the new 100K is not the new 100K anymore. It's $300,000.
Oh my God.
The new 100K is $300,000. That is ridiculous money
And
to make.
Here I was thinking I went up a tax bracket.
And I think it's just like, what do you do with taxes at that point? It's just insane to think about. And, that's single income. If dual income, 600 grand is a new norm, that I can't even imagine, man.
I don't think there's any millennial that we've come across that really does that.
So between all the different specialties, I'm assuming ICU, ER, COVID type stuff paid the most. What
Right.
was the highest paying contract that came by your eyes, being on your now 5th contract, that if you didn't get it, you didn't get, what was the highest paying contract?
Easily when you and I got dinner together last March, that I was feeling like T-Pain in a DJ Khaled music video at that point.
How much were you making? Just on let's say weekly level, monthly level, yearly?
We're talking about 8,000 a week.
All right. I need a quick. Okay, I'm going to nursing school. Fuck this shit. I'm going to nursing school. 8,000 a week?
8,000 a week, man.
Okay, so does 8,000, are they covering your salary, your gas? Like, what are they covering in that stipend?
So yeah, there's definitely it's not just straight cold hard cash straight to you. That's just like a gross income.
Okay.
With everything.
So let's break down
ballooned
that
in
8,000. So in that 8,000, that's salaries part one. And
Right.
then
Good.
What else do we have?
Yeah, so the main way to really stack it up as a travel nurse, on top of the crazy hourlies that we were seeing this point last year, they give us a stipend strictly meant for food and housing, and that's
Okay.
tax free. That's just straight money in your pocket
That's tax-free?
that you don't have to report to the IRS.
Okay.
So
okay.
I just thank goodness I just finished my taxes before coming here, so
Yeah.
I have a better idea of this breakdown. I kind of went in blind, not gonna lie.
Okay.
At first. So on average, it's about 1,500 a week. If you have a decent company, closer to 2,000 a week.
Okay.
And it really adds up. And then the hourly is whatever astronomical figure they were willing to pay last year. Now it's definitely in a more realistic bracket, but back then, everyone was just scrambling. No one knew when the next wave was going to happen.
Yep.
The second surge everyone was complaining about, right? Early January last year.
Yep. The Delta 2, I think, whatever it was called.
Right. So everyone's panicking. Everyone was overhiring. Everyone was like, okay, get here tomorrow and it's yours. So
Wow.
I literally just packed my bags. I just gave my mom a quick heads up. And I was able to find a Furnished Finders in Orinda, California, of all places.
I've heard about that, furnishedfinders.com, right? Is that like the easiest way to find a place like ASAP? Is it better than Airbnb?
That will be your best friend if you're a travel nurse.
Okay.
It's a month. It's like essentially a month-to-month Airbnb kind of situation.
Gotcha. Okay. But given those crazy, okay, just to put in perspective, a month you were making between saving taxes, not saving taxes, $32,000. That's just insane.
The take home with all those tax-free stipends I was telling you about, it wasn't like 40%. It was at least like 6,600
Oh my
take
God.
home. So that's still pretty good.
That's a
all
lot
things
of money.
considered.
That's a lot of money. But okay, that was then with the heights of the pandemic. So I think there's 3 peaks. But is it still like just as, is the job opportunity still there? Or is it now a very competitive market?
So we're fighting with two different phenomena right now. So, I mean, I would as a nurse, I've been there close to a decade, but actual travel nursing, I'm still kind of keeping my ears open to what the trends are, what is like what's a seasonal expectation of like hospital census, and also even before all of these surges and COVID even started, summer is notoriously low. Um,
Okay.
it really coincides with flu season, so just substitute flu for COVID now.
Yeah, they say the COVID's a new flu, which,
Which is
unfortunate scenario of life, but we're here. We're here.
we're here. We just got to coexist with it. But I just heard California's mask mandate is ending in April now. Like,
Did not know that.
yeah, even for hospitals. I don't know how I feel about that, but
Okay. Now it's optional. I
now
would
it's gonna
imagine.
be optional starting like April like 7th. I just
Okay.
I
I
just
thought
saw
you
it
were
on
going to say April 1st. That would be hilarious. April 1st.
April Fools. It's not a citation. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah,
Oh my
I
God.
mean, I get it, but as a healthcare professional, there's no going back. My inner germaphobe really awoken in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we're not seeing those numbers quite anymore. Definitely. And then I'm a little weird. I like to go by weekly, like my weekly income and my take home, the
Yeah,
gross
yeah, yeah.
versus take home. It's really not too much of a difference, but I'm that kind of a numbers guy. So
Okay. Oh,
I
that's
don't
smart.
I don't really see hourly rate anymore just because I want to know what's taxed and what's not taxed. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like the whole breakdown. So in my opinion, the better the stipend, the lower the hourly rate. I'm okay with that.
Because then you're paying less in taxes at the end of the day, right?
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah. If I didn't have that tax free income, like I kind of sat there and manually calculated each check last year just for a summer tax guy, I would have jumped a bracket.
Okay, so now you're saying that the competitive market it's still there, opportunities have lessened, but it's still available, right?
It's
So
available. Yeah.
how do you maintain getting the next job? Because these are I'm from what I read, 13-week contracts, what have you, quarterly contracts. How do you get, the next job, that thereafter that? You're on contract number 5. So
Right.
how do you get the next contract?
Right. So once you finally get yourself in the door at whatever contract, and it's a typical 13-week contract, aka 3 months, by about the month and a half mark, your recruiter, if they're on top of it and really hands on, they will ask, "Hey, do you feel like renewing at this place?" And we negotiate a salary change, or just keep it the same. Or do you feel like moving on to something else, either within that area or just something completely new, whatever you're trying to focus on. Um, and you're gonna do your own personal shopping. You are gonna talk to your fellow travelers when you're out there in the field. I honestly, a lot, like maybe 4 out of 5 of those, it was just word of mouth,
Oh,
seeing where the next thing was, and then I go to my recruiter because honestly, he wasn't. Sorry, Kenny. He was not the most proactive. He's great. I love him as a guy, but he's not the most proactive searcher for new contracts. I literally send him screenshots. I'm like, hey, this is what the guy next to me is making for the next contract. Is this? And they're the same company. Let's do something. And they've been great about it, but I can't sit there and dig my own employment. That's
yeah.
it's exhausting after a while. So I'm with a different agency, a much better fit.
That's good.
And they're way more proactive, and they check in with me at least on a weekly basis just to see how I'm
Oh,
doing,
wow.
and bringing new stuff to my attention all the time. So it's just honestly ripe for the picking. Just depends on what specialty you decided to
Yeah.
go into, and how flexible really you are to go throughout the country.
So which agency are you working with right now?
So also I found them out through word of mouth. The gold
What are they
stand.
called? What are they
It's
called?
called FlexCare.
FlexCare.
FlexCare LLC, based out in Roseville. Shout out to Josh B. My recruiter is also named Josh.
N.
Yeah, exactly, Josh N. And they're a smaller company, but their app is so cute. I wish I could show it on camera, but it looks like little Google pins. So you literally just zoom in and out of Google Maps, and there's little pins on every hospital and every
Oh, that's
opening that
cool.
fits your criteria with the full breakdown, which sounds like something that should be available for every travel nurse, but
Yeah.
80% of agencies, it's just whatever they tell you on the phone call, no actual physical evidence of what they're saying.
Okay.
You're
But-
just trusting their word over the
So
phone.
FlexSpace is an app/website, and
With
are
the-
you are you looking like in areas nearby you, or are you going to California only, New York? Because I would imagine California, New York, and I don't know, Texas, Florida pay the highest. I don't know why are you laughing? You got to tell me now.
Okay, so I don't know who's going to be tuning in from what state, but nurses in California, we have a little bit of silver spoon syndrome. I'm not going to lie.
Okay. Okay.
We are the only state.
What does that mean?
We are the only state that has ratios, that has really good working unions.
Okay.
So essentially, I just as an example, I'm step down ICU as of right now. So it's a 1-to-3 ratio, one nurse for 3 patients. That exact scenario in Texas, where my dad's been trying to get me to move to my whole adult life.
Yeah.
Half the pay, and 1-to-5 or even 1-to-6.
Oh my gosh.
And these are like,
Why does your dad want you to go to Texas?
oh man, you already know. I'm gonna just pull the 3 idiots card. He wants the best for me, but if you're in the field, you already know that's going from California to anywhere else. Any nurse that you come across will say that's ludicrous.
Okay. What are the top 3 states for travel nurses
Well, again,
or locations? I guess.
I have respect to anybody who did nursing outside of California. They are battle ready. They have seen Saving Private Ryan scenarios, and I'm sure I have too in my own right. But
yeah.
they just walk it off. So anything I had the audacity to complain about at work, the nurse in Atlanta next to me with 3 kids was just like, "What are you talking about?" Done.
So you're the bougie nurse.
Yeah.
Everyone in California is a bougie.
Everybody in California is a bougie nurse. I'm just gonna say it right now. You will be in for a culture shock if you are a California nurse and you go anywhere outside of California. But to answer your question, I would say Oregon and Washington are pretty close in terms of pay and doing the ratios as much as possible, like sticking to them as much. And yes, New York for sure, but they don't have ratios, unfortunately, which is weird because they should. We do have a mutual friend, Sam.
Yeah. Sumkit, Sam?
Sumkit, yeah. His hospital just went on strike like earlier this year or like late last year.
From the nurses went on strike, or all the hospital staff?
All the nurses. What? Yeah, they were really trying to fight for ratios and annual increases, benefits, all that good stuff. So we have our own version of it, tier 2. I'm sure you guys have seen headlines of Kaiser doing something similar at least once a year, every other year.
So Kaiser's on strike. Teachers in LAUSD are on strike.
Oh yeah, dude. We're all just trying to fight inflation, man.
Yeah, everyone deserves their fair pay.
Like, it's a noble profession. Yes, you do get that giddy feeling helping people out at the end of the day, but we all have a bottom line.
Yeah.
We all need a roof over our heads. So it's not always about the numbers, but there is a number, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I was actually talking to my physical therapist the other day. Katie, love you, Katie. Got me back to playing ball almost. And she asked me what I do one day, right? She's like, "Hey, what do you do?" I'm like, I work for Amgen supply chain, but I also do like 10 other things. She's just like, I just moved into like, this part of SoCal. She's like, everyone's doing minimum 2 things to make money. And there's no other way you can survive in SoCal. And that was like probably during the bull market when people were just making money.
Oh,
right.
Like peak what, 2020?
Probably like 2021. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like maybe like end of 2020, like on the bull run, like I was making money on crypto, I was making money on stocks, like everything was great. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, so at that time, people needed 2 sources of income. It's hard, or you got to make sacrifices, cut somewhere.
Right.
And now we're at this like crazy recession, bear market. And I can understand teachers striking, or not the teachers striking, it's the faculty, staffs, the support staff,
the assistants,
cafeteria workers,
bus riders.
Yeah. They're getting paid. How much did you say they're getting paid? Or they just agreed to?
Yeah, so my mom was part of the LAUSD strike just in support and solidarity. But the peripheral staff, the cafeteria workers, the aides, the bus drivers, they fought to go from $25,000 annually to about $33,000 annually, and they are jumping for joy right now.
Nothing.
I know.
And some will argue like, oh my God, they're not working summer, blah blah. But still, come on, like
it's a lot of hard work, and the whole system falls apart if they're not there.
There are a lot of idiot kids out there.
There are 30 kids running around in every direction at the LA Zoo right now, and your teacher's aide is the only thing keeping us from another Harambe tragedy. Okay,
is that what they're doing since they're not going to class? They're just going to LA Zoo?
No. They're all locked up in the auditorium.
I got one teacher, 100 students. Talk about those ratios.
They're watching Bill Nye the Science Guy on a projector.
Yo, Bill Nye the Science Guy, the best.
I think he's the only. I think he's the only one who can save us now at this point.
Bill Nye the Science Guy. Do.
I think he single-handedly fixed the ozone layer. That's why we don't hear about it anymore.
Oh yeah, it was actually that's true. I think I remember that video on VHS. Oh man, that dude made a comeback though.
He did, yeah. Now he has like a adult-ish version.
Yeah,
on Netflix.
But you were saying when you have a travel agency job ready
Yeah.
and or travel nurse job ready, you're like, I gotta go, mom. How how is that conversation like? Because like if you have a significant other, parents, family, and you just up in one day like, yo, peace out. Like, how's that first time saying that? What would you recommend to other people who might have family, kids, anyone?
Yeah. So a lot of my colleagues from my old staff jobs definitely have reached out throughout the last year or so when once became public on travel nursing. And I do see a lot of people who, who already have established families, mortgages. They're not really
Yeah,
flexible
yeah.
to do that kind of thing. So the next best thing would actually be because technically what's considered a travel assignment is, on typical pen and paper is 50 miles away from your tax home.
Okay.
So essentially, like a commute from here to Long Beach probably suffices for the 50-mile mark.
Mm-hmm.
They would get a hotel 3 days a week
Mm-hmm.
down there, or if maybe they want to suck up the commute, they'll suck up the commute, and that technically gets them their tax-free stipends
Okay.
because it's a travel assignment. You need that
Okay.
relocation
So
bonus, right?
what's the minimum distance you're saying that
50.
50?
Yeah.
Okay.
So easier said than done, man. I mean, I do have a house in Louisville, Texas. So with like,
Nice, nice.
residents and, bills to show for it and all. But so I don't have that stressor,
Okay.
but there's a lot of people who just don't have that kind of flexibility. And
Hmm.
and after doing this for a year and a half, the stipends are really what save you.
The stipends because they're all tax free,
They're
right?
all tax free. That is your bread and butter.
Interesting. Okay.
Right. So if you do, you could. There are local travelers. I've come across a handful of them, and if I didn't have this, I would have definitely been considered a local traveler for most of these assignments. It's just your tax different.
Yeah, yeah.
That'd be the
So
only thing.
so do the staff nurses, the people who are been there, let's say a couple years, they're not travel nurses. Do they know if you're a travel nurse? Like, hey, I haven't seen your face here. Who are
Yeah.
you?
Well, I mean, if
Like,
if I rock the Yeezys through the door, I'm pretty sure that's a dead giveaway. But
but do they actually recognize you right away that you're a travel nurse? Or like, hey, welcome aboard. Are they friendly? Are they mean? Are they like apathetic?
I mean, most nurses they'll get heads up. The staff nurses will get heads up. Hey, we're getting a couple of new travelers. Just keep your eyes peeled for them,
Mhm.
Josh and so and so. Obviously, if they don't recognize you, that's gonna be their first guess, I
Yeah, yeah.
guess. Yeah, it's either that or your float pool or your per diem or PRN, but that's not as common outside of Kaiser. I'm at Huntington Hospital right now in Pasadena, so
Mhm.
definitely a different work culture there.
Do they give you more shit just because you're a travel nurse?
That's historically what I thought I would be walking into.
Yeah, yeah.
But surprisingly, no.
Okay.
I would say they balance it out. I mean, I think it's just because I'm a 6 foot guy. I'll get some of the more crazier assignments, but
yeah.
I think that would have happened regardless if I was traveler or not.
Okay.
Which I don't mind. I do look a little intimidating. So if someone's acting up, I think just my presence with like a white lab coat on
Yeah,
me, they're
yeah.
like, oh my God, okay, please. I yield.
What was that app you were talking about again?
Flex Care.
Flex
Yeah.
Care. Okay, so Flex
Yeah.
Care is that app where if you want to find jobs. Have you by any chance heard of MedVenture?
MedVenture. You know what? I have seen their ad, and I do remember you were pointing it out to me when we had
Yeah,
dinner
yeah.
at that time.
So MedVenture is super cool, right? So I think it's more of like the social aspect of like, let's say, hey, meet and greets as travel nurses because hey, sometimes you don't know someone in the city, but you have a similar story. So I don't know if it's still out there. People still use MedVenture. Maybe you should be using conjunction with, Flex. What's it called?
Flex Care.
Flex Care. But I met some travel nurses that, on off of MedVenture through a friend, and they're fun people. They're nice people. They're amazing. So if you ever want to party, I guess that's like, because you go
They
into
know
a
what's
new
up.
town, right? Like you don't
Oh,
know what
yeah.
else to do. It's like, hey, I'm only here for a few weeks, maybe 3 months, but MedVenture is a good outlet for, that.
Yeah, and a lot of people do it for the lifestyle too.
Yeah, yeah.
That Atlanta nurse I was kind of hinting at earlier. Her kids are out of the house. They're in their 20s. She's recently divorced. She's like, I'm just gonna hit the road. I've never really been outside of Atlanta, Georgia, and my new place is 1 mile from the beach, and I'm making more money than
Damn.
I've ever made in my career. I'm like, good for you, girl. Shout out to Cindy. Yeah.
Yes,
Cindy.
indeed.
Yeah. So the lifestyle for sure. And honestly, I had the opportunity to go to Guam of all places, back where I'm from. Last
Tell me
year.
more about that.
Yeah, I really wish I would have pulled the trigger on it. Guam Memorial Hospital had openings for travelers, and it could have just been a simple, fill out a form. I could have been on the first flight there a month later, but It's hard. It's hard to juggle both because you have to double expenses. I still got 2 mortgages I got to deal with.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously, I want to live with my grandparents, but they're 90 something now. And I'd be a frontliner, and God forbid if I brought that home. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So, I mean, the
it's
well's
tough.
kind of dried up there, but never say never. I'm always down for a good excuse to go back home. So
Yeah,
if the
yeah.
opportunity ever arises, I think I will jump on it. But there's Hawaii contracts for sure. They don't have ratios, but again, it's like having a paid vacation for 3 months. You're out there for 3 months at a time. You're only working 36 hours, 48 hours at most.
Mhm.
So you're out there existing and enjoying. So, but to make those kind of numbers that I was telling you about earlier, peak rates, yeah, you would have to stack at least four days a week, 5 days a week even
Okay.
to make those kind of numbers. Even peak or not, you're really busting your ass.
But you're okay. So now let's say if a nurse does a specialty, they get into, let's say, ICU specialty. Now they're a travel nurse. Now they have this plethora of money, let's say 2, 3 years later,
Yeah.
and you're managing your finances great. What would be your recommendation for a travel nurse now making so much money in terms of managing their finances?
Well, I would say first and foremost, and then again, these are all tips and tricks that I'm learning for people much more my senior that have
Yep.
been in the space. Paying off your debt sounds like a great first way to
Yeah.
go. Real talk, real talk. Like if you, a lot of our nurses out there are private, unfortunately. West Coast University, Mount St. Mary's, Chamberlain,
Mhm.
they're great schools and all, but we're talking 6-figure debt.
Yeah.
So having that over your head, I've been blessed to not have to do that, with the local system that we have over here. But I think getting rid of that 6-figure debt would probably be my first and foremost.
Nice.
Definitely saving up in a Roth IRA. Anything that has like tax free exemptions on and steady growth.
Mhm.
100% down for that. Um, and then, like you said, we have to do like 2 or 3 different side hustles when we're doing this
Yep.
whole thing. So, Sim and I are, personally into the crypto space a little bit. So it's all about buying those dips, baby. But it just depends on how much free income you really have and how bold you really are building a nest egg. But I would say as of right now in 2023, the way things are, just keep a nice nest egg. Watch whatever market that you're into, pay off all your debt, and just stay cash heavy for right now.
Yeah.
Well, it could be a whole different landscape in 6 months, but that's just me personally.
You heard it here. I'm sure you heard it many times before. Bitcoin will hit 1 million for sure. One Bitcoin will
Oh,
hit
then
1
this
million.
is all. I'm retiring right there. But real talk, the
Yeah.
way things are going, even despite like the setbacks that have been happening recently, I really do see myself retiring from bedside within the decade.
Wow.
Yeah,
Within the decade. So,
yeah, or within my 30s at the very
wow.
least. Like whether that means I walk away, for higher education or just step away. But yeah, I think just working my butt off and getting my life plans off the ground, I could probably walk away from this after a couple solid years doing this.
So what are your plans a decade from now? Either higher, like what specific higher education, or do you have like certain goals in mind that you want to hit?
Yeah, so everyone's different. Everyone has a different nursing story. I did try the ER route. I have tried the psych nurse route. My bread and butter has mainly just been like telemetry, like cardiac units, and then
Okay.
now a little bit of step down ICU. Critical care, like it was like a boogeyman in my closet for like the longest time. But that was like 22-year-old Josh who just
Okay.
had like zero life experience. Now I think I could take another crack at it, either like cath lab, like all of our people that have like heart attacks.
Yeah.
They just take a little stent. There's a department strictly just for getting that stent all the way up over here and putting a little piece of mesh in there to keep your arteries open.
Is that little balloon that goes bloop, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then it
yeah.
has like a little net that kind of expands it open. So people do it day in and day out, and that seems like a really nice like work life balance. So
Okay.
either that or PACU, post anesthesia recovery nurse. I always thought those were out of reach because there's about a year or two paywall of ICU experience that
Yeah,
you got to
yeah.
get through.
I'm
Like,
sure.
and like I said, it's a boogeyman in my closet. But there's some people that have been training in the last couple of years, like new grads, and they're already in PACU without the
Bruh.
ICU experience. So I'm like, how did you? So I guess some hospitals they were a little lenient on, like you said, I need someone here now. I'd
Right,
rather
right.
hire somebody internally and train them up a little bit extra and they're doing just fine. So I think if the well really ever dries up, I think that'd be my first route.
Yeah, you want to hear a hot take real quick? You know,
Try me.
it's the most but the most interesting thing. I was at I guess two hot takes. One is just like the fact that you can be, and this is going back to what you were saying earlier. The hot take is that you could be 22, maybe almost 23, making that like six-figure salary, pretty nice one.
Oh yeah.
But the thing that bothers me the most is that a resident doctor comes in, and back to what we are saying, earning 60K.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's just like, how? Right? And it's just like, I don't want to talk about the roles of responsibility, but it's just like, this, there's something wrong there, you know? And it's just like, is there a really shortage of nurses? Do we have too many doctors? Like, that comes with supply and demand.
Okay. Yeah,
So
no, I hear that.
what's going on there?
Oh well, we have if it's any of our mutual friends watching this podcast, we feel you, residents.
Thank you, some kid.
Yeah, so they live in a whole nother world, and they have to at least do triple, quadruple the amount of schooling just
Yep.
before they're even employed, let alone that. And those 60K days will last them a few years before they start seeing the numbers that they were promised when they first started out this whole medical journey of theirs. And those resident doctors, I'm talking to them on a daily basis at work. They are doing the most. They are up right there with me for those 12-hour, 16-hour night shifts, doling out, orders, and it's a lot of responsibility. And and honestly, this latest batch of doctors I'm working with, they are all younger than me.
Yeah.
They're all 25, 26-year-olds fresh out of, the UC system.
Yep.
And they're like, my patients' lives are in their hands, and it's up to me to kind of, steer them the right way and kind of tell them what I want, or have a discussion on what the right plan of care is, because we're it.
Yeah. So again, like, thanks to all the doctors out there. You put a lot of hard work in. So thanks to all the doctors, and congrats to also, I think this week where the new residents grads, they just got their matches.
Yes.
So congrats to all the new matches out
Historic.
there, and historic for, your parents are happy, families are happy, and people are crying, man. That is like the weight off your shoulders of so much education studying. Just, okay, now next, I'm on the field.
I think about it as like a return on investment almost.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's a lot of good things need to go right for you to start
Yeah.
seeing a return on investment.
Yep.
We've all seen, the horror stories of what happens before and on, and I knew at an early age there's things I can and can't do.
Yeah.
If it
I'm
takes
there
me-
with you.
If it takes me twice to pass calculus, twice to pass electricity and magnetism physics, maybe the MCAT is not for me.
Yeah. So again, like, I was supposed to go to the doctor route, and then, fast forward, I was like, I don't think I'm going to be a doctor. And then lo and behold, I get my MBA, and now I'm on the business side of biology, where I'm still in play, but it's like a different realm, and I'm happy where I'm at, but it's always got to like
Our parents,
switch around.
Our parents have like a whole different upbringing and mindset. So
Yeah.
they have those three things in their head: engineer, doctor, accountant.
lawyer.
That's
accountant.
a lawyer.
Yeah.
That's their default, and it comes from a good place.
It does.
But until you have your own answer for it, you kind of got to go with it. I think that's just every
Yeah.
Desi family.
Yeah. Just, I think at least our generation is like, we just make fun of it. I was like, beta, or like, son, be a doctor, lawyer, engineer. I was just like, okay, cool. I got you, mom. I could do this.
There you
And
go.
I'm just like, yo, there's like a million other things you can do out there. And it's just because they didn't know that those opportunities existed out here. There's, a huge array of possibilities and opportunities out here. And again, if you're coming in new to the education of like, hey, what's next? What I'm going to do with my career? Just look at, talk to people, read a book, find out what's out there, look for the highest paying jobs. Google's at her fingertips. So there's always, an opportunity of going left and right, up and down, backwards and sideways.
And just keep picking people's brains, keep networking.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gotten to where I am today if I wasn't standing on the shoulders of people that came before me, who were just, giving me advice that I befriended out in the field, or just meeting IRL. Some of my best career choices have honestly just been friends.
Yeah.
Divulging knowledge, or coworkers, just kind of showing me a way out, and I'll forever be thankful.
That's actually one of my favorite quotes. I'm gonna get that tatted on me. It's like, actually,
Yeah.
I stand on the back. I stand on the shoulders of giants.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
don't get it on your ribs. This one right here was not worth
That's
it.
actually, I sit on the shoulder of, I don't know if it's stand or sit. think it's
No,
Sid.
Stan.
I stand on the shoulder of giants, and I think Aristotle said that back in the day. He's like, and also Isaac Newton. He's like Isaac Newton. Back to what you're saying about calculus.
Mm-hmm.
Isaac Newton's like, I can only do calculus because of the people before me set all this like precedence of like math and geometry, and I'm only here because of them.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm like, same with me. I'm only where I am today because of the people before me. You know, be it like my immigrant family, be it the people who taught me and raised me when parents were around, friends, family around me, right? So everyone around me I cherish very, very much so. So again, just want to get that tatted on me as a reminder.
Oh,
Future
yeah.
tattoo.
Oh, yeah. No, anything emotional that like resonates with you, that
Yeah,
is
yeah.
that is honestly my first impulse too. Just
Yeah.
like, all right, get that on me while it's still fresh in my head.
Yeah. All right. Hot take number 2.
Yes, tell me.
We're talking about your finances.
Oh no.
So the fact that you're able to make your own decisions, your finances, and your right now is. I was actually talking to a homie the other day.
Yeah.
He's like, damn, dude. He's like, spend the money the way you want to spend the money while you have the money. As soon as you're married, good luck. He's like, your risk tolerance of spending money is different from your, in his case, his wife. He's like, my risk tolerance is right here. Hers is right here. And I'm sure that goes across multiple, couples, and especially when they're married. So if you're making hella money right now as a travel nurse, or if you're making hella money doing something else, spend the money, make those risks now. Because once your ring on the finger, tied and locked in, good luck. And again, that's why I'm just like, I want to make the most amount of money I can, so I don't have to think twice about shit like that. You want to do something, go do it.
Yeah, I don't want to fight adulthood with one hand tied behind my back.
Yep.
So while I do, I don't have dependents or anything like that. Yeah, I will be a little more riskier with my money, but
Yeah.
thankfully I have a partner that sees the light. She sees what I'm trying to do, and she's actually pretty on board with it. And she's actually going to be following me in my footsteps with travel nursing and all. So,
ooh, okay.
Yeah, she's starting school in September, God willing. So.
Best of luck to her, man.
Really excited for that. And like you were saying before, like how hard is it for family, your life partner to really get adjusted to that lifestyle? I equate it to like being on deployment with the army,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean the peak COVID, ask any nurse, like peak 2020, early 2021, it felt like a war zone. We went out of ratio, which has never happened in California's history. We were running out of oxygen. The entire floor would be without oxygen for minutes at a time.
No way.
Yeah, every machine that was on full blast. Electrical grids were failing. It literally felt like a Universal Studios horror ride whenever like something would break and the alarm would go off. So,
oh man, that was for 2 years basically.
yeah,
It's nuts.
definitely. And I was a staff nurse at that time because I mean, I was actually relatively new to that particular hospital sign-on bonus and everything, but I kind of had this Wolf of Wall Street moment. Remember that moment where Jonah Hill talks to Leo? He's like, Show me your pay stub. Show me how much you made right now. I'm gonna quit right now.
Yeah.
Like he made the phone call. That's literally the moment I had before I signed on with my agency.
That was actually one of my favorite scenes from Wolf of Wall Street. They're at like some diner and then he calls him in the phone booth. Yeah.
I have a visceral like reaction of reliving that moment, and no regrets. No regrets, honestly. It's very stressful. It is a lot of sacrifice. You will have to be away from your family. But if you have a partner that works remote or is willing to make the sacrifice and come with you, if they're in a job that's also flexible, or they're in online school, way better. It's hard to be away from your partner, and it's a really rough life. But people got to do what they got to do to get their nest egg, to get their life started. I really felt like I was in the Matrix before all this went down. I really felt like my entire paycheck was just going to fueling. Like I barely had anything left over for myself. I felt like I was like in a rut. I never would have gotten out. But now I can kind of just transplant myself anywhere, like with a couple of months notice, and be perfectly comfortable.
Sacrifices are necessary for growth, my man.
Yeah.
Any just last pro tips for any last pro tips for travel nurses out there, nurses in general?
Yeah. So in my honest opinion, I still think it's worth trying it if you already meet the qualifications. As of right now, like if someone was trying to follow my 10-point plan at the beginning of this, I would say be a little choosy on where you do your hospital, your first time hospital, because it really sets the tone of how you feel about bedside nursing to begin with. Just see what other people with more experience in the field have, like what makes them happy, what doesn't, and just hone your craft. Pick whatever specialty, ICU, peds, ER, tele, whatever is your comfort zone, or even go out of your comfort zone. Use this time to really find a place that you find your groove. Travel nurse rates definitely have taken a hit. It's still pretty worth it in my particular case compared to what I was making this time, as staff. But you shouldn't, if you're in that close 2-3 year just being a fletchling into like a mid-tier nurse. I would bide your time unless like your back's against the wall and you really do need an out, or you're really flexible on going somewhere else, seeing new horizons. Then by all means go for it. But historically, summer has been one of the slowest seasons in
Yeah.
in my field. So you might see a magical number pop up when the October November rates get set up. Be prepared to work Christmas if you really are trying to follow, and feel free to follow me at Foolish Ningen on Instagram if you have any tips or questions or anything like that. And thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, man, this is great, man. Super insightful, like information podcast, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who still are intrigued about becoming a travel nurse and having fear, with COVID going down and I mean hospital rates kind of changing from peaks, and now again, like you said, summer's coming up, but again, the trajectory is there. It sounds competitive, and you got to really do your due diligence if you want to be a
You-
travel nurse, and that's true for any field, right? You have to put your
Absolutely.
due diligence in any field, in any walk of life, right? So always try hard. Thanks for listening. Thank you for Josh for joining me tonight. Please come back. Please come back.
Oh yeah, we're doing the Dragon Ball superhero watch party for
Yeah.
for the next podcast, right?
Right.
All
So
right.
again, thank you, Josh, for joining me on Simulated Podcast episode 3. Thanks for watching, listening. I'll see you next time. Take care.
Peace.
Peace. That was dope. That was dope.
Thanks for listening. See you next time.